This presentation will discuss the identification and referral process for academically and intellectually gifted students. It is our duty and responsibility as teachers to provide this differentiated instruction to enable students to reach their full potential, as stated in the definition of academically and intellectually gifted by the North Carolina State Department. It is required by law to provide this differentiation. Realizing that students exhibiting exceptional abilities are found in all ethnic, geographic, and socioeconomic groups, Lenoir County is committed to providing an array of service options, such as the K-2 Nurturing Program, multiple identification pathways, and individual service options. To determine a child's placement, multiple criteria are analyzed and evaluated. This includes student performance, achievement, aptitude, interest, and motivation to learn. The following timeline outlines procedures used in yearly screening. Examples of documentation collected by teachers are student grades, creative work, critical thinking, outstanding examples of writing, and problem solving. This would be work that does not reflect rote memorization, such as a spelling test. All second graders are tested using the Cognitive Abilities Test, which is a screening tool to determine future needs and future testing. The classroom teachers and the school AIG team will determine if further testing is needed as designated by the criteria in the AIG plan. In grades 3 through 8, students are tested, if referred, using the Cognitive Abilities Test. In April, these students, along with qualifying second graders, will then take the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. A consent for evaluation form must be signed before any testing can occur. Once all scores and grades have been received, the school-based AIG team meets to determine placement. All parents will be notified of the results. A meeting with parents will be scheduled. In Lenoir County, formal identification of students begins in the second semester of second grade, and the students are placed and served in the third grade. Each student nominated for the academically or intellectually gifted program is reviewed using multiple criteria for student identification. The criteria include aptitude, as demonstrated by the Cognitive Abilities Test, achievement, as demonstrated by the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, artifacts, including student behavior characteristics, student results as demonstrated on 2 district-level benchmarks of the same subject, and student performance as demonstrated by 2 consecutive EOG or EOC data of the same subject. Students must meet 2 of the 3 criteria to qualify for placement. Aptitude is an indicator of a student's capacity for learning, including reasoning, problem solving, reading comprehension, and memory. According to the AIG plan, students should score an 85% or higher for this to be a qualifying criteria. Achievement is an indicator of a student's knowledge. This is shown through a standardized test score. According to the AIG plan, students should score an 85% or higher for this to be a qualifying criteria. Two teachers will complete a behavioral characteristics survey that determines how well the student listens, observes, focuses, questions, and reads. The survey also reflects on their curiosities and their vocabulary usage. According to the AIG plan, an average of the surveys together must be a 3 or higher for this to be a qualifying criteria. District benchmarks are given at the end of each 9-week period for students in grades 3 through 12. According to the AIG plan, a student needs an 85% or higher as a score on 2 or more benchmarks within the same subject area for this to be a qualifying criteria. EOGs and EOCs are given at the end of the academic period for students in grades 3 through 12. According to the AIG plan, a student needs a composite score at or above 85 percentile on 2 consecutive reading and/or math end-of-grade tests or end-of-course tests. This chart shows the possible pathways for placement. The first column shows intellectually gifted student placement. These students must have the aptitude criteria and one of the 3 artifacts for placement. The second column shows the academically gifted placement. This placement can be for both subjects of reading and math, or for reading only or math only. For this placement, students must have the achievement criteria and one of the 3 artifacts. To be considered for academically and intellectually gifted, the student must have both the aptitude and achievement criteria met. Artifacts are not required for this placement. To nurture and develop the critical and creative thinking skills of young students, a nurturing program has been established in grades K through 2. Teachers will use the Harrison Observation Form to discover student gifted characteristics. By developing these strengths in the early years, more underrepresented populations will have the opportunity to develop the full range of their talents and intellectual abilities, thus increasing the screening pool. Screening is ongoing and occurs at all grade levels during the academic year. Please take a moment to read the following characteristics, which are reflective of the traditional AIG student. These characteristics describe students that are in typically underrepresented populations. These are the hard-to-find students due to non-traditional behaviors. There are quite a number of students that have behavior issues but are very bright. We need to keep in mind what is appropriate for the child's learning. These students are often overlooked, but we need to hone in on traditional as well as non-traditional indicators. Please take a moment to read the following characteristics, which are reflective of the non-traditional AIG student. It is easy to mistake the bright child for the gifted child. The bright child would be your self-motivated learner who often desires to please. The gifted learner can show the same characteristics, but may exemplify them in many different and unusual ways. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have questions, please contact your school's AIG specialist or contact. Or you may contact Melissa Lynch, AIG Coordinator for Lenore County Public Schools.